Okay, so welcome to session 6. It's 5 o'clock, past 5 o'clock, and my question to you is this, and don't start thinking about it too much. Whatever comes to mind, and I don't mean physically, I mean emotionally and intellectually, where are you right now?
Above the line.
Describe that place to me.
So I'm looking forward to learning, listening to what you have to share, maybe seeing what experiences I had where things would have worked out differently, where this was, if I would be doing what you were telling me to do, or maybe handling current situations with a place where things would come out differently. And looking forward to new approaches, new ideas, new experiences, rather than operating from where I've always operated. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm also above the line. Why? Because Monday I'm planning to take one reflection from my small team. So I hope through this session, I'll get some methods or like strategies whatsoever.
God bless you, man. Okay, I hope you do too. Okay, anybody else?
Thank you.
I'm above the line. I'm quite curious for the session. I'm looking forward to hear new perspectives and and to have fun.
So, while we're at this, I also want you all to, I believe you can see the gallery view, right? Where you can see everybody. Can you? Can you put the gallery view on?
Vishwas, my laptop is off, so I am right now on the phone. I don't know how effectively I can see the gallery.
Yeah, so you won't be able to see everybody, but you can kind of swipe.
Yes, scroll down. Yeah.
And I want you to just look at those faces while we are going through this process of having this chat, okay? So the question's still alive. Where are you right now?
May I speak? Okay.
You may.
Okay, thank you. I think I'm above the line today because it's after missing 2 classes that I've finally been able to join for the class. And I have been basically catching up with a lot of, with the videos only, like the last 2 ones. But still, and as you had written that if you come reading the material, then it's nice. But if not, then also it's nice. But my experience so far has been that I have just been listening to you and everybody else who has been sharing the experience, and it's been a very joyful ride. Like, it's for the first time that I don't have that itch to I should also be participating in the discussion. I'm just enjoying the absorption, and I think it's a very good change that has come in my learning perspective. So I look forward to the videos and to the session.
So I have a question. Is there a difference in watching the videos and being here and now?
Definitely it is. Like, of course, when I'm watching the video, there are times then if there is a query, sometimes I want to pause the video and ask, but then I realize, oh, it's not that. That time I regret not being there. But uh, I think within this entire process, something that I have come to terms with is, very honestly, when I joined the session, I thought I wanted to do it for a certificate so that, it will add to my resume and maybe I know a lot about experiential learning. But after coming here, like I was
Okay.
below
Nice.
also.
Just remember that
Sorry. This one, use this one.
Right. So guys, we love sound effects. Okay, so we're going to be switching between machines. Our connectivity is a little crazy today. Right. So have you been watching the faces?
Yeah.
Now, what are the faces telling you? Switch back?
No.
Oh.
Ready to learn.
Huh?
Ready to learn.
What? They've got a neon sign on their foreheads, is it?
No, but everyone's like sitting like that. It means they're waiting. Right?
So,
That also means they had heavy lunch.
could mean. See, look.
I see people smiling.
Okay.
I think everybody is happy and looking forward
Did you
to this
watch
new session.
when I asked the question?
Yes.
You did. It was, you know, the question's still alive, right?
Yeah.
I'm in a playful mood today, so I'm going to pull your legs a bit today. Let's try it again. Okay? The question is, right now, here and now, which word describes what you're feeling?
Excited?
Excited?
Curious.
Mhm.
Curious. Yeah.
Are you in the same place?
Yeah, it does make
Okay.
Telepathy.
High five, Sharon.
Say that again. What was that?
Adventures?
I just said high five
High
to
five.
Sharon through the screen. Like
Okay.
we had the same word.
Okay. So today's session is reflection, right? And the faces that you saw are the faces you see when people are reflecting. And sometimes we wonder, I mean, what did they understand the question? Didn't understand it? Should I repeat it? Do they have anything to say? Oh my, and then we can trip with that. And we can come to this place where we very quickly say, oh God, if they're not thinking about anything, then I haven't given them anything to think about. Therefore, I must be a bad educator. That means I haven't done my job. That means I should go and commit suicide. I don't know. There's a lot of things we say in that same breath as we go through that process. So just to remember that the neon sign that Srishti was talking about doesn't really appear. There's nothing there that says thinking in progress. And sometimes we've just got to make sense of what's going on. And the more we do it, the better we will get at it. So just something to remember. As an opening piece, just an opening thought. Okay, so here we go. Ready? Anything you want to say or ask before we begin?
Let's
Yes, Sharon. Oh,
So I could not attend the last session, and I was revising it. I saw the video, and it seemed to be a really interesting one. I missed it. But what I was thinking was, I would really like to get connected to people who are not teachers and part of this group, and who are somehow able to practice, or at least planning or thinking of practicing what we are learning here, so that I can, get some cues and some help in terms of how do they practice and how they are planning to, especially people who are from the development sector. So because I was kind of feeling that I'm below the line, so yeah.
So here's a shout out to all you people who might be going through the video again, or if you miss it and then you go through the video, and even though it might not be live, just make an assumption that I'm there and send me a message. Is that clear? If it's at 3 o'clock in the morning, I might not respond immediately, but I can assure you that I'm listening. And Sharon, that's in some ways I've been successful, I think, in this course, because a lot of my world revolved around the corporate and adult groups. And it sounds like you're having trouble understanding how it plays out, how all these things play out in the corporate or whatever world you call it. And if I've been able to move away from that, I am happy, because this was designed to be an educator's piece, remember? Great. Having said that, just because your team is older than you or younger than you or in another place, the principles are the same. So feel free to ask the questions and we can have a chat. Okay? Don't go below the line for silly things like that. I put out a message out there. And I said, look, you want to stay anonymous, feel free to do that. Maybe I'm the threat out there. But if you are not making sense of the course, or at least enough sense of the course, you have to give me a chance. No?
Yeah.
If you sit back and say, oh, I'm going to dive into my deep hellhole, then I can do nothing. So please reach out. I'm accessible. I like to think I'm approachable. If you disagree, we can begin the conversation with that, and you can start by saying, you are the most unapproachable person on the planet currently. What do you have to say about that? At least that will trigger a conversation. Are we clear on that?
Yes.
I am committed to trying to get you to a place where where all of you can choose at least something that you can play out in your work or life or whatever. So don't run away unless you want to. Then I won't stop you. Okay? Cool. Today's reflection. Ta-da! And here is, you know that we've been using different pictures as our opening screen each time. How is this different from do you remember the first few?
It was on a tightrope.
And what am I on now?
You are on a bank of the river and you're just sort of thinking.
Slackline.
I'm on the bank of a river.
Sorry, I can't see clearly. You're on the line. Sorry.
I'm on the line. And how?
You're just pausing.
Huh?
You're just pausing on the line. You're just moving everywhere.
And how's the mood of this person versus the mood of that earlier person?
They were
Much in control.
Relaxed.
A little more in control, relaxed. Yeah. Beginning to get the hang of the medium and, beginning to think about, and I think, so we just finished the first one on Thursday. And I'm just shocked at how much people got. I'm really shocked, and this is I never anticipated it. So soon, this is going to become a dance. Right now, it's a pause. It's that meditative. Yeah, I'm having a good time, and it's likely to become a dance on that tightrope. And the only question is, will you be with me or not? Okay, great. So we are still on the adventure. There is still risk, but we're certainly a lot calmer. Okay, and every picture that we've chosen so far, there is a reason. Okay, so you can always stop us and say, okay, what does this picture mean today? Are we playing something? All right. Now, just remember that this is a great tool for. I just loved the way I hadn't put this up, but you were all talking about where you were and how you were feeling in the context of the line. Did you notice that? So now we've already got a common language, and for me, that's the beginning of building community. We've talked about community, right?
Yep.
Now we're using the same language. It's a wonderful indication of a community being built. Now, if you showed this to somebody outside this group, my guess is they say, what's this line that you're talking about? But we know what it means, and nobody asked that question. Okay, cool. You've already shared with me whether you're struggling with the line or not. If there's anything else you want to say before we dive into the actual reflection piece. And just remember, you can add stuff, okay, on above the line or below the line experiences. I just put in a few there, but there's a whole bunch of them. Okay, here we go. You know what that is?
No.
Okay, let's look at, now we've got to bring our language together, and so I may be using certain words and you may be using different words. So let's just look at all the words that we have available to us to use in the context of what we're doing today, which is reflection. What word do you use? What are some alternate words?
Feedback.
Feedback? Huh, interesting. Okay, so feedback, great, continue.
Thinking time.
Thinking time. Are you at a traffic light? Gayatri?
I'm going very slow.
Okay,
Yeah.
just be safe, okay? So thinking time, hey, I think we need to write this down somewhere. Why don't you just use your annotator and put those words there? You know what to do, right? Annotate text and type in the word that you are aware of or you use or which describes reflection to you. You select that, we're going to go to annotator and move those things around. Going back. Wow. Can you tell me how you would use it in a sentence? Going back. I think we have to use the mouse. Select.
I've written it for you, Gayatri.
Sorry?
So that was me who wrote going back. I was not able to unmute myself. So when I thought reflection, I mean, this word came because I was kind of thinking, I don't know how to put it in a sentence, but it's like going back to what has happened and then, reflecting. So that's how the word came.
So how would you use it if you were talking to somebody?
Uh,
Or would you use a different word?
I don't know. Like,
Okay. It's okay. Don't
it's
worry.
not coming right now.
That's fine. Okay. Self-talk, thinking. No, reflection is self-talk, thinking. That's it. Going back, debrief, contemplation, looking back, ponder, observation, making me. You guys have jumped ahead. Okay. Some other words that you will often come across is review. Can you type?
Yeah.
So review is a word that's used. And of course, reflection. Nobody wrote that. Wait. Okay. Somebody. Okay. So here are all those words. And have you ever conducted a reflective session? Raise your hand if you have. Okay. Nice. So if that thing is called processing, reflection is a process of talking about something, then what is your personal experience been like? I'm going to give you time to respond to that, but I want to cover some ground before we go there. So here's the processing mountain. What does it feel like? Do you know how to do it well? What has your personal experience been? And just remember, all of us process. All of us process conversations. The having of a conversation is an act of processing. So don't tell me you haven't done it. Yeah? Okay. What does it feel like? Okay. That's what I'm hearing. That's what I'm sensing. Oh, come on, get on with it. Why are you asking us so many questions?
Unknown terrain, Vishwas.
Say that again.
It feels like unknown terrain.
Unknown terrain, okay. Each time? Or sometimes?
Each time, I don't know, but sometimes, yes. Or most of the times.
Most of the time, okay. Anybody else?
This processing, when you ask this question, I don't know if you've seen that spring, that rainbow colored spring that comes and you play with it. And so often it would all just like jumble up, right? And then you would have to like sit and try and untangle it. So that's what was coming to my mind when you asked this question and I was thinking about it. But the other thing also I was thinking about this idea of finishing like food or like finishing like an ice cream where like it's one bite after the other and there are all sorts of things. So I really enjoy this thing of like, one thing at a time or
So each bite of ice cream, each lick of ice cream, do you get it on your chin and stuff?
yeah, some do you get no on your chin also.
So
It depends on what ice cream, when you are eating it.
Where you're eating it.
If you have someone else, just say pehle you don't want to finish or want to finish it.
To grab your ice cream.
Yeah.
And then it goes all over the place. Right?
Totally.
So what I'm hearing you say is it's not always a clean process.
Yeah.
Okay. And sometimes we just don't want to do it. Yeah? So conducting a reflection session with a group or with anybody, it could be your own children, okay, is 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 always tricky, is always unknown terrain because it has so much involved in it. Okay, so here's your opportunity to don't mind my using the word, but I'm using it as a what verb, adjective, I don't know, I've never studied grammar. So here's your opportunity in groups of 4 to bitch about this process. Okay, so I want you to come up with all the struggles that you've ever had in this process of processing, of reflection, whatever you call it. And just remember, a simple conversation with your son or daughter or your father or your mother or your brother or your sister also is reflective in nature, because they ask you questions and you ask them questions, and most conversations are essentially the asking of and the answering of questions. Does that make sense? Right. So don't go all technical on me and say I've never conducted a reflection session. You have, and you probably did it in the past 5 minutes, and you probably will do it immediately after the session. So let's just talk about, in those bubbles, we'll put you out in breakout rooms as soon as, are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, 10 minutes. And if you finish earlier, you can come back. Okay? Any questions? No? Good. I'm processing well
Vishwas, I have
today.
a question. I have a
Oh, you
question.
do? Okay.
Sorry.
Yes, you can.
So my question is, so when we're talking about reflections, are we talking about the process as a processing on the part from the part of a facilitator, or being a participant in a reflection session? I think the answers might differ for me.
Oh, good, great. Then make them different. You can choose whichever position you want.
Okay.
So if you had a facilitator that you want to bitch about, then go ahead and do that. Because you know what? Someday that's going to be you.
Sure.
And that's what your participants might say about your processing skills or whatever. But the experience that you had is critical and needs to be contributed here. Is that clear?
All right. Yep. Thank you.
Those of you who have never conducted a formal reflection session with any group or anybody, think of the conversations you've had with your parents or your children, depending on who you are, and how they went. Yeah? What was the struggle? Okay, go.
Reflect.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
That's
yeah.
what I thought.
So
I'm listening. Okay, I'm just parking my car. Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
So one
Yeah.
of us will have to take the note also, I believe.
Yeah, I'm noting down here.
Yeah.
Okay, Nilesh is doing.
Okay, thanks, Nilesh.
So
question.
Sharon, you are saying your struggle is to ask the right kind of questions.
Yeah, I mean, I that's what I
Yeah.
think. If I'm asking the right question to help them reflect, that's what I think.
Okay.
That's what just popped into my mind when I.
I get a feeling that everyone is trying to say something positive. It may not always
Yeah.
be, are you opening up to the fact that
Yeah.
no, I didn't feel it is a good day, or like this didn't go well at all. Like when you say it's a feedback, they open up. When it is a feedback, they open up. But when it
Okay.
is a reflection, I somewhere feel that kind of a thing comes up. Like are you opening up completely, or are you trying to keep the terms more positive? That kind of a thing. Yeah. So
Okay. So you mean to say the participants are more likely to be positive in the reflective sessions?
yeah. So say like sometimes mostly like the words which come are like, how are you feeling? If we say keep it in one word or 2 to 3 words. Okay.
Right,
So
right, right.
it would be like hopeful, uh, feeling positive, feeling reflective, feeling so like I many times I have ended up saying that I'm feeling a little hassled, like because many things have come up together and I'm figuring out how to sort this out.
Right.
But I have had very few people use words which are like that, which shows how you're feeling at that point. Maybe most of the one of the favorites I think in our sessions are hopeful. you know
Okay. Okay.
we also have that what's alive session in the morning, wherein hope, hopeful again becomes one of the most common, and sometimes we end up saying no more hopes here.
Okay.
Use some
Okay.
other word. I don't know, something like that. Can we have? Is there a struggle? I don't know. Is it only mine? But
Okay. Okay. So somewhere you feel that what they are talking is not actually saying about their actual state, but they are just portraying a positive frame
yeah,
there.
they are somewhere hinting towards it, but not
Okay.
exactly using that particular word. Somewhere,
Sure.
like we say things like constructive criticism is the best way.
Right.
Like that is where how you put it, like those positive words. Like even when you look at the report cards of children these days, they will have a whole paragraph written. So I have a lot of friends who are teachers, and they say that we have a big struggle in a class of 30 kids. We have to write about even the naughtiest child in a very positive way, saying his energy is so high. Let us use it. So no, you're not saying that he's disturbing the whole class.
Right. 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 Right.
Something like that. So maybe
Okay.
people are in a mental state to say things like that, or maybe at least frame it in that way. I don't know.
Okay. 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 So yeah, till the time Gayatri
Yeah.
want to go
Yeah.
first, or yeah,
You
please.
can go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, there are
them sweet and simple and smart, so that I could, get people to reflect as well as they could. So I think that's a struggle both as a participant and as a facilitator. So my entire struggle is to get those questions exactly right, and very few, because as a participant, I struggle when I get too many questions to reflect on. So you have one or two questions and that's enough. The third question, and I'm just thinking about kahan jaun kya karu. So like what to do and what to think about.
And just adding on, like one of my biggest challenges is asking questions. I otherwise ask a lot of questions, and what Vishwas was also saying about sweet, simple, and all of that, that just goes out of the box for me. Because any time that I have to ask a question, first I think that I have to set a context for it, and then focus upon asking the question. Because if I just ask a question, the person will not know where I'm coming from. And what I then end up doing is asking close-ended questions, which then becomes yes or no. And the struggle for me is in asking these open-ended questions which actually make sense and then will get the person to start thinking about it. Challenges.
Yeah. I actually want to build up upon this one more like box on top of that. That for me it's challenging to be free from my anticipation what I think the reflection should lead to. Because I want to be open about it, and sometimes it's difficult when I have very strong idea in my mind what I want people to come to when they're reflecting. And I also
sorry, go ahead.
yeah, and I also I really want to give Aditi opportunity to speak because we haven't heard her at all.
So I've never like done this formally or even let's say informally. So I'm just like taking time and listening to all of you and getting all the points. So I think like I'm going to be a listener here because I don't really have much. Because I'm thinking of it from the participant's point of view. And from like the participant's point of view, like the Natalia's point of fun, it becomes boring. That is one thing that I completely agree with. And another thing is, so especially like because like I deal with school students. So what happens with them is like if when you do it at the end of the class, I mean they're in a hurry to just run away. So what I could gather is like when is the right time to do it? Like is it in the beginning of the next class, or is it in the end of this session, or like give them time to think? So like that's like roughly one thing that I could think of.
That's actually a very pertinent point when it comes to reflection.
Yeah.
Timing. I had another one. So I was just thinking, and you know what Natalia said made me think back to a session I was conducting on gender. And there was an activity, we did the power walk, and then people were reflecting. And somewhere I think I really struggled to keep my biases away while facilitating that reflection. Because so if I feel very strongly about something, it's very easy for me to sort of get flow out in the biases that I have. But during the reflection, I think the facilitator needs to be as unbiased as possible. So I think that was also a challenge that I faced. Time is, I think,
Almost up. So I need to put these things down till the time all of you can move away from this topic and have a friendly chat. And I'll be listening till the time I put this thing down in the mix.
Welcome back.
The link for Mentimeter is shared on Slack.
Yep.
Okay.
So let me change my question a bit. Anybody who feels that conducting a reflection or processing or whatever you want to call it, or a review or thinking time or circle time, whatever word you use, is easy.
No.
No, it's not easy. No.
Not easy. Okay, great. So I did mention that I wanted you to complain, right, for 10 minutes. Are you done with your complaining?
We complained a lot.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
More than you think.
What's your biggest complaint?
Well, my biggest complaint, are you saying as a group or my biggest complaint?
You.
My biggest complaint with people while reflecting is they're not ready to listen.
Damn it.
And then they end up reacting. And this is, in fact, this is one thing I've learned from Avicii. You know, you need to stop and listen and not react. But
I didn't ask you for a solution. I asked you to complain.
yeah, no, that's a complaint, right? People end up reacting and not listening. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, useless people, right?
I know. That was me too once upon a time, but
good. So
absolutely useless.
I know. So right. So we've already got some stuff here, and I'm going to share with you my list because even I want to complain. Okay, great. Here we go. I mean, I just want to get the complaints out of the way because I think the intention by the end of this little piece is to move on from that place as nicely as possible. So this issue of why processing is difficult. And so here's the other problem with this whole reflection thing. Everybody wants to do a good job. Raise your hand if you don't want to do a good job. Don't want to do a good job. Okay, raise your hand if you want to do a good job at this whole reflecting, asking questions thing. Yeah, if I don't see a hand, I'm gonna get to you. Okay, I'm gonna ask you. So Yash,
Could you repeat the question, please?
is your hand up or down? Anaga. Okay.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Really? Okay. My question is, raise your hand if you want to do a good job at this reflection thing. Dhruv, Sarita, Aditi, I'm assuming you guys don't want to do a good job. Then you can switch off the video and go home or stay at home or whatever. Okay, here we go. So this is my complaining time. Here are the reasons why processing is difficult or is seen as difficult. There are hardly any courses, and you know, I take responsibility for this, that even Deep conducts 2 sessions, for example, and we're doing 2 hours on reflection, and I don't know if it's enough. No, sorry, I think I should know by now after doing 14. Jasmine, you want to say something? No, okay, your hand's up, so that's okay.
Before I shared that, yeah.
Ah, thank you. Yeah, you did the virtual hand. Damn. I'm still getting used to this and that hand on the screen. Okay, so there are very few courses that teach you how to be a good reflector. Okay, now, and the reason is, there is a reason that we don't know, and I heard it in some of the conversations when I kind of snuck into your breakout room, and I heard this answer that, you know, it's kind of scary sometimes. I don't know if I don't know which question to ask. I don't know which one to ask first, which one shall I finish with, and so on. So it can be scary. A lot of people tell me it's really scary when you're dealing with a group that is older to you, for example, especially in the corporate world. So Sharon, that might be true with you. Sometimes when we're in a workplace where everybody else is older than you, then you wonder whether you have the right. We start questioning our own right to be able to ask a question. Yeah? Okay.
Vishwas, I have a question.
You do? Okay.
Yeah. So when we are saying processing, is this synonymous to a facilitator conducting the review session? Okay.
Facilitator conducting a review session, teacher conducting a review session, parent conducting a review session,
Okay.
child questioning parents, you name it.
Okay.
Anywhere where there is a question involved,
it's called processing.
That's it, because that's why we ask a question. Yeah? Okay. So now, a lot of us go plan, a lot of this, this area of work called curriculum development. So you have content neatly put out there, and then you have a bunch of questions, right? And the teacher is supposed to ask those questions exactly as in the book. And if you don't, then you're in trouble. Because somebody's going to come along and ask you, did you ask question number 3? No. See? So, and we're supposed to take the same questions forward from one place to another. Those of you who are in the experiential business will know that you have your own favorite activities. And each time you run the activity, very often you'll bring your old worksheet through and say, these are the questions I'm going to ask. But something completely different happens. And those questions then at that point in time become fairly irrelevant. Have you experienced that? Yeah, cool.
Vishwas, could I just tell something?
Yeah.
Can I? So Vishwas, when you said that, yes, when you conduct some activities, one of the things what I've also realized is no reflection can be ever planned because everything depends on the mood, the flow, what's happening at that given point of time, the mood of the participants, the way they're responding, and also the facilitator's state of mind. If his state of mind is just not in the right frame, even if it's the same activity, even if the group is great, I think he can make a mess out of the entire facilitation or reflection process.
Okay, so I completely agree with everything you said except this opening line. That reflection session cannot be planned.
The questions can be, that these are the kind of...
your hand right now, Sandesh.
I'm sorry?
Oh, yeah, no, your hand was in, your hand was like this.
Okay.
So I'm just...
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry.
So I completely agree with everything except the opening sentence that it can't be planned.
Well, I've had some different kind of an experience, but again, I'm going to think about it.
Wait. Yeah. Somewhere hidden in this conversation is that if I plan it, then it must go like that. And I'm saying we need to plan it, and then it may not go accordingly, but we will come to that a little later.
Okay.
And this is exactly the point, that we know how many different things affect what happens in that moment with the group and you. And therefore, a lot of people say, no, I'm just going to go out there and figure out what happens. But here's my question to all those who think that way. Do you have any idea how to frame a question?
So you have a set of questions with you already. I mean, you know that given the situation, these are the kind of questions what I would ask. But then normally, if I would have to go, I'll just see that mood and just take the decisions accordingly, because every group is so different.
Yeah, so here's my, my point is, how do you know your questions are good?
Sometimes you just feel it. Sometimes you just know it.
Right.
You're in that flow. You just know it's going great. And
Okay.
sometimes, I mean, you realize it's
Classic
miserable.
Sandesh. You remember the unplanned learner, right? Dekha jayega. Let's see what happens. And if you're okay with that, that's fine. Okay, here's my complaint. A lot of us treat life like that. And that's okay, nothing wrong with it. But I think I'm asking a different question. And I'll come to that towards the end of today. But let's just go through the complaining first. Okay, I want to conduct a session on what? Team building. And somebody asks me a leadership question, or asks me about how do I conduct, manage my time better. Right? And sometimes you do the activity or there's an experience and it goes in a particular way, you planned it for something, and now, or you're doing a leadership program and you notice something and you say, okay, now am I going to ask a question around leadership or should I be asking a question around decision making? Yeah? Okay. Oops. Right. How many of you would like to complain and say, what the hell, why aren't you reflective to your group? Yeah, I know.
I thought that I wanted to ask, why have you put people are not naturally reflective?
They're not naturally. Like people are, wait, you got to be, so here's where the terminology begins to make a difference. Reflection, is it the same as thinking? Okay, good. So now we've already got a difference. If I ask you a question, do you think you're going to think about it? You are? Yeah. Are there times when you don't think about it?
Yeah.
Great. There you go. What happened? So you get it?
But people would naturally, well, people would say, I would say that you would, but the reflection is not always conscious. Well, actually, no, now I'm thinking about it. Is that, should reflection always be conscious?
I'll give you a classic example. Those of you who, those of us who've been parents, child comes back from 8 hours of school or whatever. They say, hi, how was school today? What's the answer you get?
Okay.
Okay. What happened?
Nothing.
Nothing much.
Not much.
It was the usual.
Great. You get that? Are you telling me 8 hours that kids in school, nothing happened? Okay, point made.
Vishwas, is it that people are not very open to sharing or articulating what they're reflecting, or are they not reflecting? I think there's a difference between the two.
Okay, good. Reflection is an art. The more you do it, the better you get at it. Which part of our culture invites us to do any reflection?
Very.
Don't argue with me anymore. So we don't get into conversations. We are those, as parents, by and large, we are tellers. We're not even demonstrators, we are tellers. Do this, do that. If they don't do it, and they don't do it probably, they don't do it well, God save them. They're going to get a screaming of their life. There's no question. The only question is, why didn't you do it? Or why did you do it? Now, here's the thing. A lot of us educators who now, this whole group, now we want to reflect on everything. Not everything merits reflection. And we've got to be able to tell the difference between when it might be a worthwhile exercise and times when it may not. And I can assure you, with my elder son, it's like a daily exercise and learning process. And what I'm trying to figure out is, okay, what is worth reflecting? And now worth is not from my point of view, but will it bring any value? Question number one. Two, is that person ready to reflect or willing to reflect? Maybe they're not. Now, is reflection just an act of asking a question, or is it a process? We'll come to that later. Let's complain. And let's just say that not everything merits reflection. There are times when we have to back off. Then you meet somebody or you attend a course and they did a damn good job and you were like reflecting like hell, you know. And then we say, I want to be like that, damn it. I wish I was as good as that. I wish I got my 4 S's, all my ducks in a row, every question, every time, every relationship, every group. And then we try and live up to that, and sure enough, you're going to bump your head. Okay? Now here, not only do we want them to reflect, we want to see immediate results. We want to see results that that person has changed. They've grown horns, or I don't know, man, in that moment. This is a huge piece, okay? I know many of you are smiling, but I'll tell you what, think of every time that you ask the question, what did you expect to see happen? I mean, what do you want to see happen at that point? And somewhere it's linked to this expectation that the result of your question is like Hiroshima, Nagasaki kind of thing. Devastating. Okay? Take it easy, guys. The joy of reflect. Okay, we'll come to that later. Let me just go through my bitching session.
May I add, may I say a bit about one of my experiences?
Mm-hmm.
So we were having a reflection session.
Honestly, as long as you're complaining, I'm happy.
Yeah, it is a complaint.
Yeah.
Which I just recalled. So we had a reflection session. I had 2 more co-instructors with me, and it was with a group of students. It went okay, the session, but as soon as it got over, one of the co-instructors came up to me and told me, oh, maybe you could have asked the question that I had asked you to ask. And then I just wondered, and I said, okay, maybe next time I'll try to remember that. And I thought about it that night, and I realized that probably there was certain outcome or expectation that this instructor, educator had in his mind. That is why he asked me this question as to why I did not ask that question. Now the next day, something happened. We were on a hike, and it just completely, the student whom he was actually thinking of could have reflected better during the previous session. Something happened, and we got to know the student just opened up about how he was feeling. So it just completely changed the whole dynamics of, oh, you did not ask the question that day, to, oh, now I can see the change in that student. I think probably you asked the right questions. So in that moment, I just felt like maybe for a while I felt maybe there are better questions that I should frame. And then eventually I realized that there's no right or wrong question, and sometimes we need to just pause ourselves and give time to the people we are taking the reflection session with or of.
Right. Another thing to remember, the person who's not asking the question always has the best questions. You know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, I feel better hearing that from you. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I will even add this. There are no good or bad questions. There are only questions that will tickle somebody and questions that don't. I'll add one more. I just want you to feel really good through all this bitching, because we're going to go on with this bitching for a while. That you will never know which is the best question to ask. And once you find that best question, please don't write it down, because you will never find another opportunity that's the same. Therefore, I'm coming to it much earlier than I thought. Therefore, reflection cannot be taught, and I cannot teach you reflection. What we're going to do today is I'm going to lay out certain boundaries, and I'm going to, give you show you the playground, and then you decide what you want to do with it. Okay? Cool. Let's continue. So obviously there are more than 10 things. Now, oops. Anything you want to say before we continue with the bad connection?
I want to know the 9th point again. I lost the connectivity at that time.
Oh, somebody help?
Positive results are not always immediate or apparent.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Yeah, it's true to you, no? Okay, so we've got a lot more. And over the years, I've collected some of these. And I'm going to run through them. But if there's something you want to know about a specific one, I will very quickly give you the response. Otherwise, I'm just going to move on. Okay? Great. Yeah. Well, I wish I could show you what's happening outside. This is like, do you want to see?
It's really raining heavily outside.
Heavy rain, strong winds. I don't know. Maybe this is one of those unrecorded typhoons.
Should I share?
So we've got a connectivity issue. So I'm just give us a second. Yeah. नहीं मत figure out कर Okay. So I'll just do my chatter and cover some ground while we're still trying to get connectivity back. Okay. So I think you saw that processing mountain, right? Now it begins to look like a mountain, and you say, my God, am I ever going to be able to get my reflection in order? Will I really be able to conduct a good reflective session? So here's the easiest way that many people have found not to conduct a reflection session is to just say, hey, people feel good about things at the end of the activity anyway, no? So why ask all these questions? I'm sure they learn from the power of the experience, especially, the outdoor educator types. They don't want to ask any questions. They just want to go up a mountain and drag a bunch of kids out there, and that's pretty much it. And those of you who are in this business will know what I'm talking about. That there are very few outdoor educators who know the power of the outdoors, but do not want to engage with the power of the reflective process. You know why? Because it's hard work. Because suddenly reflection involves a whole bunch of things. It means I have to be present there. I have to be thinking about the right question. I'd rather just look at 180-degree skies. And that's why the field of outdoor ed, although extremely powerful, is currently in our industry the weakest. Because all kids come back is with a powerful experience, and our answer is they must have learned something, but we will never know what that is because it's purposeless activity as far as they are concerned. Okay. So those of us that have run activities in the classroom or in the outdoors very often will we look at what the activity does to the audience and then say, the activity has done its job, I don't need to do anything else, and then we will let it go. And I'm just going to call that as a lucky accident that they learned something. And mind you, most of us who've been in this field for a long time, when we began, that's what it was. That's where we came from. We knew the power of the experience, and we learned this whole act of processing only later. Okay, here's a list. If there's something you don't understand, do ask.
Vishwas,
Yeah.
I have been thinking of this question. What is the difference between a feedback and reflection?
Big difference, according to me. I will address it towards the end. If you don't get it till then I will address it. Okay? Remind me.
This point number 25, Vishwas, debriefs being too long or too short. The voice is echoing.
Is it still echoing?
No, I don't think so. Anyway, so this point, I know there's no way of finding out, what is the right time. Is there? How much long the brief should be? 5 minutes, 3 minutes, 20 minutes. So how does one know? I'm sure one answer would be out of practice, but to somebody who's new to this, how do you suggest, or what is the way around this? Okay, this is the adequate time I have to give. Shouldn't be less, shouldn't be more.
There is no such thing in my language as long and short.
Okay.
For me, the answer is, in that reflection process, where was the power?
Oh, all right.
Was it with me or was it with the group?
Okay.
I've had situations in which I did a 5-minute activity and the processing or the debrief went on for 3 hours. And then there are activities when I put my life into it and they finish it off in 5 minutes. And for me, the question is, who has the power? As long as it's with you, things will be either long or short.
Sure, got it. Thanks.
But then, Vishwas, particular to this, I facilitated this one session that I remember. And just that entire process of reflection or processing took so long that the entire so it took double the amount that it was actually going to take. So I got a lot of heat from the facilitator that was supposed to follow my session. So if you give the power completely to the participants, then how do you process these things? Because it was a big challenge for me there.
Forget what people said. What do you think?
Well, I have two views here actually, because one, okay, I was able to do my job well, and there was powerful reflection that happened. So what happened was worthwhile for me in a way. But then the people also missed out what was next.
Hey,
they missed out.
So what?
That thing as well.
So what? You see, there you go. That's that educator wanting to finish that worksheet. There is no value for the next thing if they've got value from this. If I told you stories, then my life's been a mess. I've never done a good program by that standard. Because I came with a 5-page plan, and the first line took away the entire course in a different direction. So does that mean I didn't do my job? No.
Vishwas,
Yeah.
I have noticed that adult groups have a mind of their own, and at the end of the program, they are not willing to reflect. They are ready to go home, pack up, and it starts from the afternoon. No matter how serious you are wanting to take the discussion for reflection, they are not ready because they are ready to wind up and go on.
Got it. So, so what?
I need some inputs on that.
Oh, you do? Good. That's what today is about. I'll come to it. I just want to finish the complaining.
Okay.
I mean, is this enough?
Vishwas, I think you can add one more point over there. You have mentioned the co-facilitator hijacks. Well, you could also say the participant hijacks or monopolizes the entire conversation.
I'm sure it's
sometimes
there somewhere.
Huh?
I'm sure there's
point number 23.
Yeah, okay. I'm sure it's there somewhere. But I will add it if you didn't see it. Number 78, external interference, people. Okay, I got it.
Also, was there conflict between participants? Because if there are very, subjects that are very personal to people or that can get personal, there sometimes starts conflicts between participants as well. And
Sure.
conflict management also comes into play.
Sure, completely. Conflict between organizational personal objectives of group.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay.
No.
Now let's just, okay. Now we're going to move forward. Okay? So, this is what people have asked me over the years. Okay? They constantly ask me these questions. And I don't know if I have answers for them. And if this is true for you, just raise your hand. Have you ever asked a question, got an answer, and didn't know what to do with it? So there's a lot of unpredictable situations, okay? And I don't know if we'll ever get a hang of it. So then, now we've got to find an answer to this big question. So what shall I do? So here are some answers. And I'm just going to give you a layout of the field, and I heard many of you using these words. So what is a closed question?
A question that has a yes or no response.
Ask me a closed question.
What's the capital? Sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
What's the capital of Maharashtra?
Which year?
What is the color of an apple?
Sorry, Sandesh. I'm just bullying you. Man. Okay.
Are you wearing a glass? Are you wearing glasses? That's a closed question.
Yes. Good. So close
Good.
question is usually, you see, Sandesh, I opened it out because the truth is that it could be, I could treat it as an open question. But often, and I don't know if you wanted to take that anywhere, and a question, a closed question usually is, it's like you're guiding the river. Okay? So if you had asked me, is the capital of Maharashtra Mumbai? If you have a doubt, just ask me, okay? Otherwise, we're just going to move on. And there is a place for closed questions when you want to direct the conversation, but it does limit discussion. And I think there's a whole bunch of people who believe that if a discussion is not open, then it is not a good one. But there's a time to ask closed questions, and we will come to that. So what would be an example of number 5?
Did you have fun?
The questions that feed themselves, like, is Mumbai the capital?
Yeah, both are right. Kriti, I would go with a more devious question. You had fun, right? I mean,
yes.
The number of people I've heard that approach from, it's like, I don't even want to know. You better have had fun. If you didn't, I don't want to know. And my next question is, okay, now wrap up and go home. Okay, so that's a closed question. Give me an example. So I'm going to give you examples of closed questions. And then we're going to have a little fun trying to convert them to open questions, okay? Closed questions. Those of you who like to write, this might be a good time to write because I don't know if this is not in the text. So examples of closed questions. Did you enjoy it? Did you succeed? Or did you get it right? Did you complete the task? Was it important? Are you happy with the outcome? Did you do anything different? Okay? All closed questions here, it's not much movement. Now, what you're going to do is convert those questions to open questions. Anybody want to try?
The last question, will you do anything different? A yes or no answer could be converted to an open-ended. If yes, then tell us what. What do you want? What would you do differently and why? If no, same. Why not?
But I'm not going to make it so easy for you, no?
Or just ask
I want
how
that
can this be
question-
done differently?
Sorry?
Just ask how can this be done differently?
Now you're asking, that's a different question, no?
No, we are just converting the
Now you're
closed question
suggesting that
into.
different is possible.
Yeah.
What did you do?
Okay.
This question, did you enjoy?
Is it what did you do or change that? Huh?
Why?
Why did you do? No.
Why do you think this should be done in this way? I mean, something like that.
So what is it? Did you do anything different? What are we trying to get from the group?
Hello?
What did you do different?
What worked, what didn't work?
Okay.
Hello, Vishwas. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, I was trying to respond a couple of times, but yeah.
Sorry, Srividya, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was thinking like, why if we ask a question in terms of why do you think, does that come under this open-ended questions?
Okay, just as a general rule, why is often seen as a confrontational question. What is it you want to know?
What was your experience and how did it add value?
Okay.
See, you guys choose the hardest one.
What about asking this question? Did you enjoy to changing it and asking what did you enjoy the most?
Or how do
Okay.
you think you have? How do you think you've enjoyed?
So,
Or do you think you've enjoyed how?
अरे ये किताब थोड़ी ना है. If you enjoyed what? Now ask me one question.
Or, I mean, just simply asking, how did you feel? I might
Okay,
ask,
good.
I might ask, what did you like about the program?
Presumption.
Just one point. Generally, I've noticed that
Underrated.
when you ask why questions, it goes to a place where it becomes too confusing as to do with what answers they give. Rather, when you're asking what questions or how questions, it's much more easier as a facilitator. It's a very personal experience I'm just sharing with you. So the flow of the conversation becomes slightly easier to handle for me.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. Your experience is true because why is and depending on how you frame that question can be seen as you challenging what they did.
Yes. Sometimes
Unless
we
it
go
has
into
a context and you're scaffolded. Do you remember scaffolding?
Yes.
Good. I want you to remember that scaffolding is a process that we use in asking the question. We need to take it a step at a time.
Okay.
I will demonstrate it at some point in time today, maybe.
I was just going to request you to. Thank you.
Okay, all you English teachers, don't mind the grammatical or whatever errors, okay? These are just a few things that I thought I'd put down because I think all this is fairly common with almost any group, adult or children. So those of you who like structure, form, sequence, and models, here's one you could use. So let's make an assumption that Let's make an assumption that anybody we meet has a whole bunch of experiences that they're speaking from, and sometimes we create them and throw them into this thing that we call a funnel. And there's a reason why we're using the funnel as the analogy here. So initially, just ask review questions, then remembering questions, and identify the impact. And all of these are what we call what questions. So a classic opening question is, what happened? If you need clarification, feel free to ask. And just remember, a model is just a model. It's a useful model to use and helps you bring structure and form and kind of in some ways a kind of a discipline. And once you can play around with the different kinds of questions that this model shows up, then you can play with it. So 3 pieces to this. What, so what, if, and now what? Reflection, integration, continuation. Any questions?
So when we're conducting reflections, for example, looking at this funnel, I believe they have to go through all of these in that particular order, or can we skip or mix and match?
You can do whatever you want, as long as you make it meaningful. So here's the thing. I'm going to make, do you remember doing, I showed you 2 people at pictures and I said, do you think they're learning? We've done the what, so what, now what model, right? And I gave you a whole bunch of questions around that. This is just another way of representing it. I don't know if that answers your question, Shikha, but I don't even know whether there's an answer to your question. Just do whatever makes sense to you. But I think over time, we've discovered that there's a way to make it safe. So your scaffolding, the what questions are essentially around the thing that they have done or the experience, which is immediate to their memory. The so what is really getting them to make connections between what they experienced and what they know about themselves in their previous lives. So that integration piece is the firing in the brain. Yeah? And the now what is, okay, now you had this experience, what are you going to do with it? Or do you want to do anything about it at all?
Vishwas?
Yes, yeah. Yes, Divya.
I think it also goes with the Cohn's learning model, because the learning cycle that you said.
Got it.
Because
You got it.
I kept thinking about,
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And I will make those connections. But what we're going to do now is I asked some of you, I said, would anybody be willing to do a role play with me? You see, here's my problem. And I said it earlier. I have no idea how to teach reflection. Okay? I don't even know if it can be taught. I have not seen anybody who learned because they were taught. Okay? which means that we have to learn it ourselves. And because we are such a big part of the reflective process, that it can't be just a bunch of questions. I have never been able to agree or accept methodologies that give you a bunch of questions. There's a whole bunch of books I can give you and a sequence of questions. But I don't know if it'll get you to that wonderful place where you know you've asked the right. Do you remember 4S? What are those 4 S's?
Short, sweet, simple, and smart.
Sharp.
Sharp, sharp.
Sharp.
Okay. Short, simple,
Sweet.
sharp.
Sharp.
Then sharp.
Short, simple, sharp, and sweet.
Got it. Okay. We can have a break if you want. So what we're going to do now, the next piece is really Gayatri. I'd asked you and Gayatri was willing to have that conversation. I'm assuming, Gayatri, you're still okay with it. Is she there?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So let's take a break, 5 minutes. And then Gayatri and me are going to have a conversation that we're all going to listen to. And that's it. Okay? Right.
But it's been only 3 weeks.
Encore.
That's about reflection too. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. Yeah, the glasses are. And we just, okay, 1. That's it. That's it. Oh, cool. We're doing fine.
But HR खाली put questions in.
That we'll have to probably give his homework. And I didn't need to really walk them through it. Because Dolph had that question. And he's not here anyway. He sent a mail. Okay, are we back? Yeah.
I was just thinking that, you know, sometimes in a reflection session, I feel if myself.
Yeah, try.
Yeah, now it's good. Is it too soon? Like, you know, sometimes when is it too soon? Like when I'm doing a reflection session, if it's too soon to ask the now what question. मैंने थोड़ा ऐसे time you have to give time no between these. So well, I was just thinking about so many times if I am also asked the now what question, I'm like, it's like, is it too soon? So many times in, you know, sessions when I've conducted, I have noticed that I'm really like keen to ask a now what question, but I just feel that I find myself stopping myself sometimes as well, because I feel it's the expectation that the processing happens too fast or the whole learning cycle completes too fast to reach the now what question. So I wanted to know that, like, in your experience, like, is it like too soon or?
Sounds like you already know the answer.
There can't be an answer, no.
Why not? Why not?
So I feel it is too soon a lot of times. But then you also let go, you are letting go of that opportunity to just present that question to them and like invite them to also think about the now what.
Is that what you think? Is that what you think?
That's what I think. Meaning,
Good. So if that's what you think and you've presented that thought, next time you're conducting a session, what will you do?
I'll tell you in the moment what I'm thinking I'll do. I might not do it or do it. I don't know. But maybe.
Stop. Was that question too soon?
No. Okay. Yeah, it wasn't too soon.
You will know. You got it, right?
Now, can I say what I was going to say?
My joy. Go ahead.
I was that how even if you like sometimes, so if I put out the question for now what, but along with it also say that it's not necessary to have an answer to that, but an invitation that whenever you want to, you can choose to think about that as well.
Yeah, why would you do that, but? You know what you're doing? You're trying to save your own ass, that's all.
How?
Why would you invite somebody to think about the now what question and then say, you know what, if you don't do it also, it's okay, in the same breath? That's what I heard.
Because I feel...
Gauri, there are other ways to do it. And I don't know how to teach you that. But we'll figure it out. Okay. Let's get back to what we wanted to do.
Okay.
But you understand what I'm saying? There are other ways to do it. It doesn't have to always begin with now what are you going to do?
Which is fine. We don't, I don't have to ask the question that way. Sure. I will try and experience it and come back to you with reflections and questions.
When will you do that?
Huh?
And when will you do that?
Whenever it happens.
When is that likely to be?
Soon.
Did you hear my now what without the now what?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
टेंशन नहीं देने का लोगों को.
खुद जो लेते हैं उसका क्या? लोगों को दे या नहीं दे वो चलेगा.
वो तो आबेल मुझे मार वाली बात है. Sorry. Okay. Right, Gayatri, you ready? So this is how we're going to do this. And I don't know what's going to happen. And I don't know if I'll do it right. But the intention is to have a chat with Gayatri, who's going to tell me about an experience. And I am the facilitator. And I'm going to ask her questions. And I don't know whether I'm going to go by the book or by the model. I'm just going to stay alive to what.
I'm sorry, I just got disconnected. Just give me a moment. I can't hear you. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it wasn't about you anyway. So I was just talking to the rest of the group. Even if you didn't hear it, it's okay. Are you there now? Gayatri? Gayatri.
I think she still needs a moment. She said she's just disconnected.
Okay. So anyway, she doesn't need to hear this. So I'm just kind of, this is my disclaimer. I don't know if I'll get it right. And that's okay. But
Hello,
we haven't
can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's better now.
nice.
I got disconnected from my phone and from my laptop. I can't hear properly.
Hey, we're seeing
Sorry.
two of you now. My God, you got a split
I
personality.
understand.
Maybe both of them are dragging too much connectivity. Okay, so Gayatri, so this is how we're going to go about it. You're going to tell me about the experience and then we're just going to have a chat about it. Okay? Now, remember, the 4S applies even to storytelling. So when you talk about it, just remember that you want to keep my attention. So you want to be sharp, short, all that. Simple. You ready? Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So the unresolved issue that you were talking about on Slack was, well, it's not an issue per se, but it has stayed in for a long period of time. It started and then the issue ended, but the whole thought remained in my mind. And again, that's with my dad. And that's the first time I went to college and we had our freshers. And, in college, we are in that rigor, the wings are right coming out. And I had the wings of LSR. So I was on cloud nine. And we had freshers and we had this theme which was the theme where we wear gowns and everything. I forgot the theme again. It was Oscars. I think it was Oscars, something like that, something of that sort. And I told my dad, you know what, I want to go and buy a gown. And he's like, yeah, let's go ahead and buy a gown. And I was my dad's favorite child, all that while. Since school, I was with him, listening to him, doing what he says, all points of time. And at that point of time we went to the market, and we're looking at different gowns, and we used to go to shop all points of time, okay, but and I was looking at a gown which was cut sleeves, and I never wore cut sleeves in school per se, like cut sleeves outside. And somehow my dad convinced me, you know what, you girls should not wear cut sleeves at that point of time, because you'll be going in metro, and you might not know how to handle that, and you've not worn it before. He gave me 10,000 reasons, but it just stayed in my mind, and I got convinced, and I said, "Achha, theek hai, it's okay, nahi pehnungi," and all of that. But I still wanted that particular gown, and I still remember it because after that scene that happened with me, when we got to college, and I did Bachelor's of Elementary Education, and there was this course called Contemporary India where we talked about issues, of contemporary world. And one of the issues that we were introduced then was on feminism. And when I realized at that point of time in those classes, I actually realized that whatever he said was deep inbuilt patriarchal, and I am still not able to make sense that, why is he not changing? Like, try and understand, this is how I want things to be. But I mean, anything, every aspect after that has remained unresolved with him. And so it's not just one issue that's built up now. And, हमारा 36 कहाँ गया? So we don't talk much, but yeah, whatever. That's the unresolved thing.
Okay. May I? Okay. So was it only after your education began that you began to see the patriarchal piece?
Yeah, because I was always in the house. I grew up in a very protective environment. Like, my bubble around me was so thick that it took me a lot of time to look through it. And last year only I moved out, and I actually realized that, oh, the world that I was living in was very different. And that's not the world that I want to be all my life. I want to go out and explore. Even though it's a tough zone, right? It's I+1 level. It's not danger zone, but I still want to go and explore. And the bubble that I was living in was so tight that I couldn't see through. So you see, it took me 8 years to actually take a step outside my comfort zone. and it took me, say, 2 years after college, because we never gelled well after that. I mean, we used to end up in fights every single day about every tiny thing, because I started becoming rebellious then.
So
and
are you
and
saying
it's still
that,
there.
so are you saying that before your new education, you did not have these quarrels?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yes.
And did you have a chat with him?
Many times.
And
10,000 times about 10,000 different things. But
and
I mean, I think at this point of time, he's come to a consensus that ये नहीं सुनेगी, इसको 10 बजे आना है, 10 बजे ही आएगी. So we come to a middle point where he says, अच्छा ठीक है, गाड़ी लेके जाओ and be safe. And then I come to a point when I say, okay, fine, I'll be back by before 11, or I'll be back before 12. And then he's like, come back before 10, and I'll be back before 11 because that's what I said. So he's now understood, at that point. Even now, in lockdown, when I go out for cycling, I come back by 10, 11, and he's like, "Tum fir late aayi ho." ऐसे नहीं होता है. And I'm like, the next day it's the same story. I come back by 10, 11.
do you think that that the way that he thinks about your late coming and so on and so forth has anything to do with patriarchy?
Yeah, because yes, it is, because he wants me in a certain way, and I am not going to be in that way. Like, apart from the fact that he wants the safety in place, he wants me to be in certain way. He still wants me to dress up in a certain way. And now that he's seeing that all his chains are breaking through, he's becoming uncomfortable with all of that. Like, it's not comfortable zone for him, and I know that because he has this rage in him that अरे रात को तुमको फिर फोन आ गया, सो जाओ ना रात को. That's the feeling. In tiny things, you feel that anger.
Right. Do you think when you look at your world, you might have some of these pieces in you of wanting to see change and want change around you, but struggling with the idea that it may not happen or isn't happening?
Actually, at this point of time, I do feel that the change will going to happen, and it's going to be very different. But for a long period of time, I felt that the change can never happen. I mean, I gave up the idea of existing with men because, I mean, all my past relationships were also like that. But at this point of time, right now, I can say that I can see that my foreseeable future might be different than what I had with my dad.
How come?
My partner is very different. I mean, he's very different than what my dad is like.
Describe the difference.
Opposite phases. Well, there's a lot of respect, mutual respect in the relationship. There's a lot of opinions that are taken and considered, and there's a lot of responsibility that I have, which is just mine. Like, he doesn't take my responsibility, I take my responsibility, but he makes sure that I understand that this is our individual responsibilities, and we need to make sure that but with my dad it's very different. With my dad, he'll take all the responsibility and be like, I'll do it, I'll get it done, I'll do this, I'll do that, you just do this. So there is no control over there. With my dad, there's a lot of control to be in the bubble, though it's all protective control, but it's still control, and that's for me is very negative.
Do you think he knows this?
My dad knows that the control is negative.
That it has that effect on you?
Well, he sees me, he should know that.
Should he?
I've talked about it as well, but see, I've talked about times when I told him, see, I need to move out because I need to live near my workplace.
Okay.
And then it took a lot of effort to convince him, but he did not settle on the idea that I'm not comfortable traveling so far and I'm not comfortable living home. He settled with the idea that अच्छा ठीक है जल्दी पहुंच जाएगी school, rash driving नहीं करेगी. So with a lot of logistics in mind, but nowhere the feelings were taken care of.
So it sounds to me like he's just expressing to you how he wants things to be.
Yeah.
And when you were younger, it's possible that that control, as you call it, was exercised.
Yeah.
Is it possible?
It's not anymore.
So is it possible that he has moved from that place also over the years? That the
Like he
concern is
still
still
wants to
there.
control.
No, the concern is there, the protectiveness is there, but he sees that there is no control, or there may not even be a desire to control, because he sees that you've been taking care of yourself. But that sense of ownership, protectiveness stays alive. I'm asking if you can see it
I don't
differently.
get your question.
Okay. He's concerned about your safety. He wants to be protective about you. And he expresses it in a particular way. Did I get that right so far? Is it possible that he has actually moved from that place over the years to a place where he talks about it, but he's not necessarily hugely attached to the outcome?
I think so, because now it all comes in passive aggressiveness, where he tells me that मेरे को नहीं पता करना कि तुम्हारी लाइफ में क्या चल रहा है. Even when I moved out, in Lajpat, he's like, I'm never going to come in that house. And I was like, okay, fine, do whatever. But so for me, again, addressing to your question, that he said that, I am not going to associate myself, because so one way of looking at it could be that you're responsible enough and, just do what you want to do. But another way could be looking at it that, hello, I cannot control you, so do whatever you want to do.
So it sounds to me like you have a choice as to how to see it.
Possibly. But then
How
I
do
know
you
that's expressed to me in every time, that's expressed to me in a passive aggressive way.
Yeah.
Like छोटी से छोटी चीज and बड़ी से बड़ी चीज, like
Yeah.
the smallest thing at the house, it could be expressed in a passive aggressive way. And I know it because I see that he does not mean it. But he's still saying it out of aggression.
So is that a problem?
Yeah, because that's not how I want to have a relationship with him. I mean, can't we be just comfortable around in our own, like, can't you just accept the fact that I have a boyfriend and, so I haven't told about him yet to him, okay?
Do you see a
And the day he
similarity?
gets to know it, he's going to be after my life, okay, you know what, get married. No, I don't want to at the moment. Just relax and shut.
Gayatri, do you
That's
see
what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Do you see a similarity between what he's doing and what you are doing?
No, there's no similarity. We're different people.
Of course, you're different people, but there's a similarity in the way you're both responding to a difference. He's being, as you describe it, passive aggressive. And what are you doing?
See, I have tried to communicate multiple times.
I know.
If he doesn't get it, then there has to be some way of communication, no?
Hold on, Gayatri. Is it possible he's also saying the same thing?
Possibly. Just a second. I'm feeling very cold suddenly. Possibly. I don't know.
Could that be something to consider?
No, but he's never going to express it. There's no point of considering it.
No, I'm saying that what you call expression and what he calls expression is different.
Yeah, his expression, his way of expressing is "meri suno" or "meri karo." That's
I
not
know.
my way of expression.
I know, but look at
So
how
then
much.
why should I consider it?
Look at how much you've been able to do in spite of that.
That's because I'm rebellious. That's because I managed to do it with support.
Well, so is he.
And thanks to Corona now. Oh, anyways, I'm stuck again with him.
Okay, tell me, has he thrown you out?
No.
Not yet. Which means that he's accepted part of what you've become.
Possibly, yes.
Maybe he does not or cannot find the words to be able to say that. Maybe he even doesn't see it like that.
But he says that I'm pushing boundaries at all points of time. Why should I even consider? Because that's my space. I'm just taking my space. You want to come in my space. Why do you want me to consider his angle when that doesn't even make sense?
Are you
I'm
not
sorry.
pushing boundaries?
No, that's my space. That's what I want to do.
Are you not pushing his boundaries?
See, what are
Okay,
these
let me
boundaries
change the
again?
question. By doing what you're doing, is it possible that you're pushing his boundaries?
Yeah,
Is
I
it
have actually.
right? Therefore, the response that he has to you doing that is not very different from your response to him doing that to you. It is
But this is my
aggression of
space.
some sort. Sorry?
No, but this is my space. I'm just trying to regain my space that was in control. Like,
I'm not denying that. I'm not challenging it.
but then how is it's his space? This is my space.
His space includes you. Can you see that? And anything that's going to drag you out of his space, he's going to try and protect and hold.
Yeah, but that's not the way, right?
Don't go there yet. Don't go there yet. We're not talking about right and wrong here. We're trying to understand the situation. Okay? We're not going to a place where we're saying you are right and he's wrong, or he's right and you are wrong. We're just saying, okay, what does the situation look like? And what it looks like is that you lived in one house, and as life happened, you began to see your life differently. It was okay for a while, till you, for example, your turning point might have been that course that you did, and you got a better understanding of that behavior through certain terminologies, is when you started separating in the way you thought about the same things.
I know all of that. I know all of that.
Right, and you are doing exactly what he's trying to do. You want to hold on to your space. He wants to hold on to your space, his space. The only difference is that he sees you as part of that. And you going away is going to bring out aggression in him, and him invading your space, as you call it, is inviting aggression from you.
Yeah, I know that. So then what after that?
Oh, that's the beautiful part. I have no idea.
That's where I am. That's what is unresolved.
Right. Now, maybe there's a way to look at it that might be different. Now, I don't know if I want to take it to the now what piece. But what we've done is the what, and we've done the so what. We've discovered the so what. The only place I can bring the now what to is, can you come to terms with the way things are?
Right now, I am coming to terms the way things are.
Can you be at peace with the way things are?
Trying to be.
Okay.
Trying to develop identities.
Next time you walk into your parents' home, is it possible for you to see and it's listen to his aggression, or whatever you call it, aggression, passive aggression? Whatever that behavior is it possible for you to listen to it encounter it, see it, and know it for what it is.
You cannot counter passive aggressiveness, Vishwas.
I'm not asking you to counter it. I'm asking you to listen to it. You know all about it, don't you? Intellectually, you seem to understand the whole thing. You know
Yeah,
what it
but
is.
that cannot be countered. See, if I countered that, we'll end up in fights again.
Gayatri, you're looking at this relationship like this.
It is like this.
And you know what? There's an alternate.
It is like this.
There's another way to look at it. And it's got nothing to do with him. It's got everything to do with you and how you choose to see it. I don't know what the answer is. I can give you a lot of theory. We've done it in the conflict session. You remember the triangle?
No, I forgot.
Huh?
We've not done conflict.
Opposing opinion. Sorry? Opposing opinions. Didn't we do this?
Not in this ee2go yet. I thought maybe she was from another D.
Sorry. Okay. Gayatri, are you there? Okay. I'm going to... Sorry. You want a solution? Here's the solution. There are 3 pieces that are critical to any conflict. And they must all be there for conflict to exist. And all you've got to do is to break that really solid structure. Okay, here it is. Okay, this is all out of syllabus, guys. Are you okay with it? So I'm going to check in with the rest of the group. Are you okay with it? I mean, I don't know why I didn't do it, but if I didn't do it, then it needs to be done. But okay. I've often been, I'll start from where I usually begin with that piece. And the question is, why put conflict in an experiential ed course? And the answer is this. All situations in life create or have a potential for conflict. If we can build a better understanding of it, the chances of our being able to deal with that conflict are a little better. Okay? So I'm just going to give you the fast version of it. Can you see my screen? Okay. Three pieces that are critical to any conflict. Opposing opinions, strong emotions, and high stakes. Tell me these don't exist with you, Gayatri.
I am not sure about high stakes.
Oh, you got a stake in it, madam. You got a big stake in it. What are you afraid of losing?
The damage is done. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Can't hear you. Is it just for me that I can't hear you, or is it everybody?
Vishwas,
No,
your
it's
voice was
correct.
breaking. We couldn't hear you, Vishwas.
This is still better than hearing all of that.
Bring that up.
Okay. So, what I'm going to help you with is discovering which of these you're holding on to. Okay? Now, you're telling me you don't have a stake. You know what a stake is, right? You've got that thing and you put it into the ground and you tie yourself to it. And the question to discover whether you have a stake in it or not is to ask yourself the question, what have I got to lose? What will you lose?
The relationship.
What are you
That's
afraid
the
of
whole idea
losing?
why I'm not telling him about it.
What are you afraid of losing?
The whole relationship.
The relationship? Anything else? Did you ask him this question and say that maybe you can ask him this question that, look, if I do what I want to do and I need to do because of whatever reasons, will you stop talking to me? Will you throw me out of your home? Will I stop being your daughter?
He has stopped talking to me multiple times. He's
Multiple
given
times,
me
right? So he goes through his
jhados
as
and
well.
jhado-fied and done all of that multiple times. Saying that, oh, you don't have to live here if you don't want to do this.
Right. So
I've
you've
heard
got
all
your,
of that.
know that you've got your stake in fear of losing the relationship. That's your stake. That's what you're afraid of losing. And there might be other things. Another stake you've put into the ground is your space. You're afraid of losing your space.
But that's only when I let go of my space. I'm not letting go of my space. That's still very important to me. That's why the whole conflict is there, right?
I'm
The
not
conflict
saying
still
right or
stands
wrong.
strong.
Huh?
The conflict still stands strong because
Yeah.
I'm not ready to let go of my space.
Absolutely.
And the other side is he's not ready to let go of his space then probably.
Absolutely. All I'm giving you are the principles of conflict. You can decide what you want to do with it. You got your stake in the ground, he's got a stake in the ground. You both are afraid of losing something. The moment you're afraid to let go of something, you feel strong emotions of anger or whatever else, resentment, fear, all that. And of course, all this comes from opposing opinions. Your triangle is safe and therefore your conflict will continue. The only way to get out of this is to destroy the triangle. Now, I can't tell you how. I can give you certain indications and say, hey, you know what? If you understand his scenario and what's going on with him, you don't need to feel so upset and angry and resentful about it.
Vishwas, could you just repeat as to how the only way you can break this, because your voice sort of was lost.
Okay. So I said that there were three pieces in this triangle, right? Opposing opinions, strong emotions, and high stakes. This may clarify. Gayatri, as you look at this, please think about which one you think you might be capable of doing. You don't have to tell me right now, but I want you to consider it. Okay? Some of this stuff will go on for some time. And the only one thing I'd like to say at this point in time, that
Voice is breaking.
we often expect immediate outcomes and that may not be possible.
You sound like a garbled C3PO.
Sorry?
You sound like C3PO.
Do I sound like R2D2 now?
Yeah, better.
Better.
Thank
So
you.
R2D2 is better than C3PO, okay?
The voice,
Fine.
at least for now.
Okay.
I thought you looked like
Right.
Yoda though.
Okay, so that was a reflection session. Any comments, questions? Or did you go to sleep?
Vishwas, I have a common question.
Yeah.
So I heard you gave some solutions in this reflection section, and
Yeah.
I have a judgment in my head that it's not a pure reflection, since you brought in your knowledge and solution.
Okay. I'm not sure about that though. Yes, I did make certain suggestions, but I don't think they were solutions.
It felt like advice to me.
Which part of it?
The part when you were asking, the part that you told about triangle,
Yeah.
and you told that there is a high stake, and
Yes.
then you discovered together which one's the high stake, but it felt like a suggestion that there is a high stake. And then I heard an advice in the end to think of which part of triangle to destroy or to unwrap.
Oh yeah, that is a suggestion. The suggestion was see which part of that triangle you can dismantle. Yes. But you see, it's not a solution. I could have asked, which of these three sides do you think you have the ability to dismantle? Yes, I could have asked that. So you see, we don't always do a good job. But I'm not sure. Okay, I'm not sure I was being prescriptive, but that's open to discussion.
I guess my question, it was not it's not to say that was not the process. It's
I
rather
agree.
to clarify whether it is a part of the process, whether
It is part of the
pure
process.
reflection.
Yes, it's part of the process. And I have to say this, I would never have taken it this far. And I think I was sensitive enough to take it to a point where I began to sense that that's how far I could go. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah,
I have a question.
Yeah.
Who's going to go first? Me. Bharat, go ahead, then I'll go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you. So like my question is, shouldn't we expect answer for now what in every reflection?
No.
And why?
Because people may not be ready. They may not see the connections. The only reason I brought up the model was to show her how those three pieces are connected. She's not ready to talk about the now what at all. She's going to take her time over it. And that's going to take, we don't know how long.
And if people are not ready for so what also?
Then you don't go there. So what is an area you can influence and work on? It is still part of the facilitation process where we as educators can stay in control. Why? Because we can ask the questions that matter, that build context for the audience. The so what questions are helping our audience build connections with their history, their childhood, their relationships, their experiences. Now what is, we are not in a position to bring them to unless they are ready to be there.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. So, hi, Ashwin. Arishil here. I've been through a similar conflict resolution sort of a thing before as well. And one thing, like I went through the same process what you did with Gayatri, and it was a different context altogether then. And one thing I realized, because I had asked a question back then as well, which was that, is it necessary for me to break the triangle that you're talking about, or should I just say that I don't want to do it and accept the fact that I don't want to resolve this conflict with whatever XYZ person that I have, and I'm okay being in this uncomfortable stage and letting it affect the stakes, whatever you call that, emotion stakes, and let them overpower me in whichever way. And that's one of the realizations that I had, is that I'm okay. And that's one thing that I wanted to bring forward, is like what Bharat was also asking, what now, so what next, all of these questions then become contextual to the decisions that I make or what each individual of us make.
Sure.
And it's only once we choose to walk on the steps, maybe then we can apply whatever concepts or theories we might have regarding conflict resolutions or anything. But if I just decide that I don't want to take that step right now, I don't want to walk that path, and I just want to back off, that's also a very okay situation to be in. And somehow it took me years to accept that fact, because the conditioning has been that you always have to improve yourself and be better, and you always have to grow. So that's the one thing that I want to say. It's okay to be where you are and accept the way things are.
Yep. And some of us can stay in that, stay in what we think is accepted conflict, but actually grow into a new place by the very acceptance of it. That makes sense?
Yeah, it's like once you accept it, you're able to let go. So it happened with me. Sorry, I just wanted to say that it happened with me. Okay,
Yeah. See, the moment you say it, then we can be manipulative about it.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the problem. And the acceptance is the big piece. And who knows, maybe it does different things to different people. Okay. Last one. Before we move on, I do have stuff to do, okay? I need 15 minutes compulsorily. Those who need to run away can run away. You know that. But this piece does need to be finished. Yeah. Last one.
Okay. Gayatri, thank you for sharing and letting us just, be in this conversation. Vishwas, where I am still, I can't make sense of when you decided to leave the conversation and come back to the conversation with the rest of us. And so sitting here, I'm feeling very uncomfortable about it, because I personally don't know how Gayatri is feeling about it. I know how I'm feeling about it. I don't know how you're feeling about it. So I think that's where my question comes from, that when you, in reflection sessions, when sometimes you engage in conversations with some people, which take longer, some conversations that have to take a longer time, when do you, how does one choose to, where does one conversation end? Because you know that the conversation can go on to come back to the group.
That's what I'm going to do next.
Okay.
So just wait for that answer. If it doesn't get answered, then I will bring the context of this conversation with Gayatri and tell you when I decided.
Sure.
Yeah? Okay. Yeah. Back to okay. So you remember this? We've done it. We just did it differently. So there were lots of examples of what questions, so what questions, and now what questions. Okay? You've done this, haven't you? Yeah, thank you. So I'm not going to go through it again. Do take a look at it because it might help. Great. So here's a partial answer, Gauri, and it'll lead there. Whenever you are working with a group, ask group questions first. Give me examples of a group question. Let's say they've just gone through an experience. What would be a good group question?
Does anyone have anything to share?
Oh, you are healing now.
So what happened? We could ask what happened.
What happened? Or how did it go? Am I something like
What's the
Yeah.
Yes, your voice is breaking.
When the slides come up, your voice breaks.
Can you hear me now?
Still breaking.
Now.
Yeah, now it's fine.
So, does anybody have anything to share? It may not be the best question because you started with a closed question, and I would be surprised if you didn't get complete silence. I don't want to share. A group question is usually an open question. And an example would be something like, what happened? Or how did it go? Or what was it like? Or you can even scaffold it. A scaffolding example might be, hey, did you enjoy the activity? Did you? I'm waiting.
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Start with the closed question, but my next question is going to open it up. What did you enjoy about the activity? Does that make sense? So I scaffolded it. That's an example of scaffolding. You start with a question, a simple one, and then you build on top of that. And we could go on and on. Another thought, always allow your next question to be, oh, damn. Now this is philosophy. I don't know how to get the philosophy out of it, but I'm going to say it. At this point in time, when you begin asking your first question, throw away everything that you planned out of the window or the door or wherever you are, whatever hole in the ground exists. Okay? Because if you are not there completely with the group, there is such a thing that we call thinking. Okay, I'm going to separate two things. There's something called thinking in action and thinking on action. Thinking in action is when something is going on and you're watching and you are thinking about what questions you're going to ask. And you can get so involved in that instead of watching, you take a pen and paper and start writing and recording all your questions. By then the activity has gone to a different place altogether. Then your question becomes completely irrelevant towards the end of it because the value of it is lost. Be careful about that. And thinking on action is thinking about what happened around all the observations that you made. Now you have not made, you just have a memory of it. The best way to facilitate an experience is to stay in the here and now, which is why I keep insisting on the 4 S's. Because when you are there completely with that person or that group that you're talking to, then you ask a simple question. Hey, how did the activity go? Oh, it went really well. Oh, really? What went well? Blah, 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 blah. Tell me a little more about, and then you can pick something that they said. Then your conversation is being scaffolded on their expression of the experience, not your memory of it. That is real for them. If I bring my reality into the conversation, then I tend to be attached to an outcome that I want to take it to. Then the conversation becomes unreal for them. I said all that very slowly. I hope you got it.
Vishwas, can you explain the thinking on action thing again? I couldn't get it.
Thinking in action is what's going on in your head while the activity is going on that the group is involved in, and thinking on action is when the activity stops and you say, okay, what am I going to ask? And that question, that first question, comes from the immediate that you have observed.
So which one is good or which one is bad?
They're both good. It depends on which one you want to use. All I'm asking you to do is to beware that you write your questions, and by then the group is in a different place in its experience. Then those questions become irrelevant. So always, okay, so if you want 1, 2, 3, always ask and open, always try to, okay, the answer is in this. If you ask a complicated question, you will get a simple answer. If you ask a simple question, you will get a long, complicated answer. What do you want?
I don't know.
Okay, what is a complicated question? A question that has multiple pieces in it. You know how it is, right? You start asking a question, you don't get it right, and then you add little pieces to it so that it sounds like, hey, you guys just finished the activity. Did you enjoy it? Which part of it did you enjoy? I mean, was everybody involved, or was it just a few people who did all the talking and the doing? What does that sound like?
Complicated.
Nice. What's the answer going to be, you think?
Yes, it was good.
Did you get anything from it as a facilitator?
No.
Got it?
Yeah.
Good. Let's continue. So ask group questions first, then questions that focus on the dynamics between people, in what happened in the group between people. So a classic question would be, could you have done it by yourself? Can somebody just choose to play a role so I can, because I can't come up with the questions and the answers myself. I can, but then it'll be very boring. Yes, Anushri?
Okay.
Huh. I asked a question, no? Do you remember it?
Could you have done it by yourself?
Yeah, could you have done that? Anushri, could you have done that activity by yourself?
Maybe.
Okay. Did you do it by yourself?
No.
Great.
You
Who was involved?
there were 5 of us involved.
Ah, wonderful. And did you get it done?
Yes, we could.
Nice. How did the 5 of you work? And now I'm going to give you a complicated question, but I could, scaffold the whole thing. How do you, what did it require for 5 people to work together?
We had to listen to each other.
Blah, 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 blah. Got it. You see what I did? I'm scaffolding. I'm building a piece by piece. And all the entire conversations about what happened between people. So classic questions would be, did you assign roles?
We had to. Initially, we were not interested to listen to each other, but then when the time was going to be up, we realized that we have to get done with the activity. So then one of us went around saying that, oh, maybe we need to divide our roles, and so that we quickly get it done.
Oh, okay. Were those roles that you defined clear to everybody?
There was some confusion. Somehow by the time was up, we could manage to complete that role.
See, wonderful. I could pick this information up later in the conversation and say, I remember you saying that there was some confusion about the roles that were assigned to people. If you had to do the same activity again or a different activity, let's say you're going to do another activity next, what will you do that might be different?
Maybe choose my friends.
Okay.
And then do the activity.
There you go. I've already come to the now what. And the now what is immediate. Guys, don't misunderstand the now what. The now what is not about life's decisions, okay? How many children are you going to have when you are 85? Got nothing to do with that. Okay? Or how are you going to solve the conflicts in your life? Oh, no. Nothing like that. It could be as simple as, okay, in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to give you another activity to do. What will you do differently in the context of assigning roles? I've already brought that focus to something. Make sense? Great. So interpersonal. Third is intrapersonal. Here's my suggestion before even putting it there. Please don't go to this place. Intrapersonal is what happened between Gayatri and me. It's about the person. And there will be times when in a therapeutic setting, you might get into this, or let's just say in a corporate program, the guy who's the boss constantly comes in and upsets what's going on with the group. If I'm going to have that conversation with him and say, hey guys, how did it go? Yeah, the boss kept interfering, man. Oh, really? And I say, okay, so boss, what do you have to say about it? And he says, this is how they behave at work also. Wow, really? Okay. What is it that you noticed here that happened that was similar to what happens at work? And I get into this tunnel vision where the only person I can see is the boss and everybody else is sidelined. Don't get into these scenarios with people yet, please. We are still learning facilitation. They can be very tricky because you can't step in and step out at your whim and fancy. You have to be able to take it to a safe place, not only for the group, but also to that person. So the moment you encounter a situation like this, pause the process and say, guys, or talk to that person and say, can we take this offline later? If you still want to have this conversation, take it offline. If they're still interested, they'll connect with you. Because you can lose the whole group in that process. And a lot of us do this. And the complaint is, oh God, only one person talks in the group. That's because you got caught more often than not. Us as facilitators, we get caught in that tunnel. We can hear only that one person. And the best way to do it is to say, yeah, okay, I hear your point of view. I'm just curious, what does the group think about this? Then you put it out to the group again. So it's a constant process of gathering what people are saying instead of getting focused on a person. Okay? Avoid this space for the next 5 years. Okay. I'm going to do this fast and furious in the next 10 minutes. There's a belief that every experience must be processed only in the end. And we tend to do it only in the end. Okay? There are many places that you can jump in and make it meaningful to a point where for the past 5 or 10 years, I have been completely avoiding this model, which is experience, then let's talk about it, and then hope for change. Any reflection that is done, the intention is create a potential for change. Yes? Great. So you can front load. And a classic front load is, we are going to do this activity. This is what you're going to do. What do you think there is to learn from it? Another way of putting it is, okay, this is what we're going to do. And what you could learn from it is A, B, C. So pay attention to the way you talk to each other. Pay attention to the way you do things. Pay attention to A, B, C, D, whatever you want to do. And you can put it up on a board. What you're essentially doing is inviting them to bring about change even before the experience has actually begun. This is a very powerful way of working. Those who work in the outdoors, a classic example would be, tomorrow you're going for a trek. You're going to be out all day long. What would you like to take with you? Make a list. Let us know what you need. We will make it available. And as they give you the list and they start talking about it, you can grill them with questions as to, what will you do if somebody feels hungry? What will you do if you don't have a matchbox? What will you do if somebody sprains their ankle? What will you do if somebody cannot carry their load? What will you do if you don't find water? Got it? And this is even before the experience has begun the next morning and they've gone through the entire thing in their head. I have done with this with not just tricks, but even getting the group to set up a rappel and a climbing system using ropes and techniques and so on and so forth. So they run the belaying, they run the activity themselves. You don't have to wait till the end to ask a question. If you notice something happening, ask them then and there. What did you just notice? And they'll say something. Say, okay, what do you want to do about it? It's called an intervention. Okay? So you can process before, during, and after. Do it anytime. You notice it, do it. Don't wait for the whole thing to finish. By then, it's all over for them. Okay? Cool. You're going to get this anyway, so just thought I would put it out there. Okay, here's another thing we've done. You remember the Colin Beard model? Yeah? You can also follow this model in your questions. Questions to yourself and questions to the group. I won't run through it in too much detail. So doing questions. What did you do? How did you do it? How do you think you did? Who did what? All in the context of the doing. Questions around sensing. What was your first response to the activity? Do you think you could have done it? Okay, classic sensing questions. Please avoid that classic question that everybody asks. First question people ask is, how did you feel? People are not ready to talk about how they felt. Because you know how it works, right? You ask people a feeling question, they'll give you a thinking answer. We've got to build things to be able to ask the feeling question. The last one there is a classic now what question. Is there a way to prevent how you feel from affecting how you do things? They say yes, and you say, okay, what are you going to do next? If they say no, that's fine. Okay? Woo! I have no way of knowing whether I've done a good job or not, but I can assure you one thing. As long as my disclaimer, you remember that I don't know how to teach facilitation. If you've learned something great, don't blame me for it. The only way to practice it is to do it, do it, do it. Question, question, question. Get sharper with your questions all the time. Anything you want to say before we close today? If you don't, then I will say something lastly.
My question about the difference between feedback and reflection.
Okay. So I have an opinion about feedback. Okay, but I will ask you a different question. What is it you want to know?
how different are both? Like, what is a feedback and what is a reflection?
When do you ask for, when do you use feedback?
After doing something?
Mm-hmm. And what does a feedback question sound like?
Something like, oh, I'm not getting it.
Anybody want to help? Yeah, Shika.
What went well? How could you improve what you did?
Yeah.
Oh, you put two questions in the same breath. Now I'm lost. Which one do you want me to answer?
Scaffolded. What went well for you?
What went
the
well?
activity?
Nothing.
How could you improve?
I don't want to improve anything. I mean, it went lousy.
So what was it that made? What exactly made the activity lousy?
I don't know. Nobody was talking to each other. We just did our own thing. Stop. Sharon, is that feedback?
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing. Reflection is a real, what's the word? In real time process. You can give me a sheet and say, give me your feedback. And it might include reflection. But most feedback today is in the context of, did you understand anything? Did you enjoy anything? Did you do anything? What are you going to put into your, and then it's a tick box approach. Okay. Or people also use the word feedback saying, hey, you know what? Give me feedback on how I did today. Or I want to give you feedback about your performance. Am I differentiating it? No feedback is worth its value unless asked for. Don't give feedback to anybody unless you have permission. It's a waste of time. Because the first thing that people do when they hear, I want to give you some feedback, whoosh, shutters down. That's a longer conversation. Okay. A lot of you are probably checked out, but those who are there, anything you have to ask or say?
Vishwas, I wanted my question answered.
Which is?
The earlier one, when I said people are not interested at the end to reflect, or, you know, there's a formal closure. People are in a hurry to go. How does one circumvent that?
Do reflection in the beginning, do reflection in the middle, don't do anything in the end.
But then does it not leave the group in a very, you know, hanging way, kind of a hurry bye-bye kind of thing?
Well, it sounds to me like hanging is better than hung out to dry. You know what I'm saying? Because if you recognize that in the end they're not keen and the energy is not there, then there's no value to that reflection in the end anyway.
And another thing I have noticed also is that when we are processing after every activity, people are not very, there is a certain set of people who are just not interested in going deep.
Deep
They
according
just
to
want
whom?
to leave it half.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, they moan. The moment we say, can we talk about it, or what happened and things like that.
Good. Then don't ask them whether they're okay to talk about it. Just talk about it. You see, one of the big mistakes we make as facilitators is ask that question. Okay, shall we now sit in a circle and talk about it? Oh no, not again. The beauty is in being able to catch that energy at different times.
Yeah, I got that answer. That
and not wait. You see, that end thing, we just want to put our tick box and say, they were interested or they learned something. Waste of time.
But what happens when you have different groups and then at a point where the group comes together to discuss, then if you do it at the spot, there is only one set of people who get the feedback, get the reflection, but the others don't.
Well, what do you think is going on in this group? Do you think everybody is equally engaged? Do you think I'm disappointed?
I got the point.
People will do what they must do for themselves and just have faith in that. You can't teach anybody anything that they are not interested in knowing. And the interest will peak at different times for different people. So as far as I'm concerned, I want to stay respectful of the fact that everybody on the screen right now, whether you're on or off, at some point in time you were on or off. Make sense?
Thank you.
Forever respectful.
I have a question.
Yes, Bharat.
Yeah, like it may not be related to reflection. Like my concern is like when we are talking about some qualitative aspects, maybe improving the learning standards or improving the learning styles, but people drag that to the infrastructure or materialistic things. How we should get back to learning or how we should.
Example?
Say for example, if you are dealing with the government school teachers, so whenever we tried of telling them about the improving the teaching standards, they always focus they always take the discussion towards the infrastructure they have or the limitations they have.
That's their truth.
But
if I did that conversation here,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think is going to happen? And by the way, where did you get the idea that this was all about improvement?
Idea of?
That this was going to improve something?
No, like I'm not going telling that this will improve something. Like there will always be like where we can change our strategies, like where we can try something new.
Yeah, but you came in with a need. They didn't come to you.
So you mean to say like we have to wait till they come with the need?
Our job is to light a few fires, my friend. You find a way. There is no one way. Our job is to walk into that space and permanently affect it one way or another. Otherwise, you will do the same thing that they are doing. Aren't you doing the same thing?
Yeah, I'm trying from last 2 years to light the fire, but I'm not getting the.
Sir, you have to light your own fire first. Then don't worry about it. You will go and light many fires and may not even know it.
Okay, I didn't get the answer, but I'll think about it.
I'll give you the answer. Do you think, is my fire lit, you think?
Yeah, of course.
Do you think I care whether, now don't take this in the bad sense, okay? But do you think I would be disappointed if I couldn't light your fire?
No, I think.
Finished? Over?
Okay. But that should not impact others, no? That if you didn't.
Who is others?
Maybe my teammates.
My teammates are sitting here. Do you think I care whether their fires are lit or not? Damn it. And I don't go there with the intention of lighting any fires, okay? Understand this. all I care about is I want to do what I do and it's important to me.
Okay.
And if you can do that, I think what tends to happen is they'll say, wow, I didn't see it that way. Wow, this is going to be important to me as well. How many of you are feeling that today? That whatever we've discussed so far in 6 sessions is important to you? Raise your hand. I count more than 2. Bharat, as far as I'm concerned, I've been successful as hell.
Yes, 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 yes.
My measure of myself is seeing a sparkle in the eyes of 2 people. And thank God, even this 2-dimensional method allows me to see the eyes. Don't waste your time worrying about other people, man. Just light your own fire. The rest will happen.
Got it.
Sorry.
It's okay. I got it. I got it.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Maybe it's time to close or Sharon won't give up.
2 things, one confirmation and one question. So going back to that feedback reflection thing. So do you think feedback is more of a, no, reflection is more of a deeper thing, and feedback is like, okay, more of asking about yourself, like as a facilitator, like you're asking about yourself.
Reflection is more valuable to everybody. Feedback is important only for the organization.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And the other question, which Gauri was also saying about the now what thing. So I will share this one thing. I have developed a career exploration, training manual for the district employment officers. So they are supposed to take this manual, go to different schools, and then they meet these 9 standard kids, and they do this thing, do the whole career
And of course,
exploration program.
improve the quality of everybody's life. Go on.
Yeah. So the last part of the manual, I had put action plan. I mean, what I expected was after the whole thing, it's good if the kids might have a small plan kind of a thing where, they will see as to where will they go after doing this exploration program. So going back to what Gauri was also saying, one of my colleagues said, is it not too early to and too quick to ask these kids about, what will they be doing in terms of the action plan? But I thought, like, will it not be letting them hang around, like after the whole thing has happened? Should not there be a closure? Yeah.
Sure, there could be a closure, but the closure does not necessarily have to be an action plan.
Oh, so?
A closure can be just them being able to connect what they've learned or what you've tried to teach them with their lives. Then, any question that you ask them in the context of their lives, their answers will come alive. I don't very rarely give straight answers, Sharon.
Yeah.
The point I'm trying to make is this: do everything to enrich your time with them. You have no control over whether they're going to do it or not do it or understand it or whatever. You have no control over that, and you'll never know. True or not?
Yeah.
Then why are you spending so much time over that piece? Just enrich the time that you have with them.
So how do you think I should end it?
Okay, I'll give you an answer today. Here's your answer. Is there anything do you find, okay, sorry, do you find a similarity between what you have learned and your life?
Yeah.
If you don't get an answer to this, there's action plan is a waste of time because they don't see a connection. Action plan is transference, as we call it, which is the 5-week course I'm going to be running.
Mhm.
It's complex. It's great fun, but that's the intention of all education, no?
Mm. Yeah.
That's what you, when you say action plan, what are you doing? You want whatever has been learned to be transferred into their lives. But if they don't see the connection and we don't invest in building that connection, then why would they want to even look at what happens later?
Mm.
So see you on the transference course. Ha.
Thank you.
Gauri, you won't leave me alone, no?
No.
Last one. Gauri always has the last word.
No, yeah. That's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
but, one of the things that I have struggled with sometimes when doing these reflection sessions is
Start packing up.
when people say something, or when they want to share their reflection, and then there are lots of people who want to respond to it also. So this whole thing,
Respond to it or add to it.
but no, not always add to it. So there are, in my head now, there are like these different responses. One is, in most cases, people don't care what the fuck the other person has said. Sorry. So I have a response. So I'll not listen to other people, and as soon as that gets over, I'll have my reflection. That's one. Second is, if you have said something, I will respond to that in agreement or disagreement, and that becomes another like conversation altogether. And third is, if you have said something, I'll say, to add to that, this is something that I experienced or I felt. Sometimes what happens is that when other people start responding, then it's one strand of thought or one reflection that gets deliberated upon in the whole group. And that's the end of the whole reflection conversation. And then sometimes I come out of that session thinking, other strands of thoughts or other things that people wanted to say did not get explored at all.
Gauri, there's a lot of sometimes. What's your question?
Neither. My question is, how do you do you tell people to not respond? Do you tell people to?
No, you don't tell them what not to do. You invite them to do something different.
Yeah, or
So,
share what you are feeling. Yeah.
Yeah, tell me the way I do it is to say, okay, I hear that, but tell me your truth. So, I keep bringing you back to the I. And the reason is, when you say I, then it's your story, not you as a generic idea. Make sense?
Yeah.
So if you start commenting on somebody else's comment or whatever they said, and I'd say, hey, Gauri, tell me your truth. That's the magic wand for all those scenarios you talked about. It just brings them back to that one place which is there.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Gayatri, are you there?
Yes, I'll wait for everybody. I just have a question for you. Just one final question.
Okay. I hope I didn't take you to any place you didn't want to go. I don't know. Okay. That's okay. So just from body language, just to answer your question, Gauri, I knew when to stop when she changed her posture. Her expression, what was going on with her. It was, I could sense her trauma, and I had to make a decision, and I said, okay, here's when I pulled back. Okay, right. Have fun, guys.
One last question, Vishwas. Sorry. I have experienced, I mean, I know you said we have to take them through the what, how, I mean, doing, sense, feel, think, and know. There is a certain time when with corporate groups, they are just not willing to go into the feelings. It's always we should have, we could have, this is what it is. They like to analyze, but they don't want to address their feelings. How does one go about doing things then?
You don't.
Okay, so you just leave it at that.
Yeah, why is it so important to you?
Because then it's not complete.
That's what you think.
Okay.
Unless you have that mandate, if people don't want to go into the feeling space, then they won't. And that's fine. That's their safe space. Why would we want to drag them out of that? And even if you do, it's not going to work. Nothing's really going to work. And it requires time. And most organizations won't give you that time.
Because then the learning doesn't happen to that extent. You know, sometimes where you feel the.
How do you know, Zen? How do you know?
Maybe I'm bringing my.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard this often enough that till people speak about their feelings, they have not been touched by the experience and no change will happen. No, I'm not so sure about that. There's a whole bunch of people in this group who are feeling things but not bringing it up. And I don't need to know whether they're taking anything back or not, but I can assure you they are.
Okay.
I think we should allow that safe space to remain for them.
Thank you.